congratulations on a real one.
Thank you so
Uh,
much.
it's impactful. It is, I think, brutally honest to stuff that goes on. Why did you decide to take such a serious topic in this way?
Well, I wrote a real one because I was actually just really interested in. I was interested in how we think about Black women specifically in the unfolding of sagas like the racial justice movement in the United States, the Me Too movement throughout the world. And I was feeling like Black women were often a footnote in a lot of those conversations. And I kept kind of coming back to this question of, who is looking out for these young Black women and girls who need support and guidance and structures around them as we move through these really difficult moments, especially young women. And the answer that I kept coming back to was that it's other Black women who are looking out for us, for Black women. We're the ones that we can depend on to show up for one another the most. And that's when I started thinking about my two central characters, Lauren and Keisha, who are seniors in they're in their final year of high school. And they really have to depend on one another to navigate some of the trickiest parts of this moment of going from adolescence into adulthood.
Definitely, your two main characters are amazing. They're very you get very much captivated by their performances. How thrilled are you with this cast?
Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with this cast, truly. I've known Ireon Roach, who plays Keisha, for some time. I've known her for a few years and like recognized her talent instantly. So she's someone who I've always wanted to work with in this way, fellow Chicagoan. And Eris Baker, Eris played Tess on This Is Us throughout the run of that show. And I've always thought she had such like beautiful vulnerability in her role on that show that I've always felt was perfect for Lauren. So when we were going about casting, my producer suggested that we try to reach out to see if she might be interested. And long story short, we were able to make contact, send her the work. She and her family were really into it, and she came on board to play Lauren. And I can't imagine anyone else in that role. Like her energy and her spirit are so true to that character. And then I think the chemistry that she and Irion found is just absolutely gorgeous. And I'm just so pleased at how fully that shines in the film.
Once again, this speaks so much truth to what happens, what goes on, and how not it's not just women, but I think everybody leans on their friends for support. Going with that, how important was it for you to kind of put how it kind of divided them for a moment and then brought them back together? How important was that part in the story for you?
Oh, it's essential. Their friendship is foundational in the story. I know that a real one, involves some pretty serious subject matter. But what was most important for me in both writing and directing the story was that audiences walk away really feeling the resonance of the depth and beauty and power of their friendship, right? That this thing happened, right? We can't deny that, but that what we're really left with is the love that is really unbreakable between these two lifelong friends. And that is something I think, regardless of what the conflict of the story is, that people will always connect to, right? Most of us have experienced significant friendships in our lives and know that even when our relationships with our closest friends get rocked, if they're a real one, if they're really a true friend, then they'll help us get to the other side. They'll help us see what we maybe can't see on our own, and they'll ride with us even when we're slipping up a little bit.
Definitely. And as I watched this, and even at the end, it felt like this is a bigger story that could be told. Is there any plans to expand on this? Is there any more stories you want to tell, involving these characters?
Absolutely. So I was really fortunate that I've already gotten to develop the feature version of a real one. I wrote the shorts right before the pandemic hit. And in the process of looking for support for either the short or what I knew would eventually become the feature, I was able to be a part of the Sundance Screenwriters Lab and the subsequent Directors Lab, where I got to develop the feature in some really significant ways. The feature's also gotten some really great support from the Chicago International Film Festival and Gotham. And then, once we were kind of through those moments, we knew, my team and I knew we needed to go back and make the short as a proof of concept. Luckily, we had some funds to do that so that we could start to shape this world. And I feel so fortunate to have had that to be able to test my vision in that way. And I'm just incredibly pleased with what we were able to do, but also really pleased at how strongly audiences have been responding to the story as we've been able to share it on the festival circuit. And now, as we move through our festival run, we're seeing what we can do to help that pave the way toward the future, because there is a larger world, a really, really beautiful, vibrant world that these two characters inhabit, that I'm really excited to show audiences who've already started to respond.
Definitely. And even though this is a very powerful story, it's a very truthful story. How important is it to tell these types of stories for, the for representation, for exposure, for everything? We need to hear more of these topics being talked about and see
Yes.
these types of friendships as
Yeah.
well.
Well, we're in this really fascinating moment where I think we're seeing more narratives that are driven by women leads, by people of color, by Black people, immigrant stories. We're just in this much more inclusive moment in our media and storytelling landscape than I think we've ever been. And I think we can go even further. I've always been a fan of the coming of age genre. It's just my favorite thing. Everyone can relate to it because we all go through those moments in our life, right? We all, grow up and become the people that we're going to be as adults, and it's tricky, but it's incredibly relatable. I don't, I can name a handful, maybe, of coming of age narratives that center Black women, Black girls in kind of mainstream media. There's not that many. And yet we go through those moments too. Like, we love hard too. We mess up really bad too. And our journeys deserve to be seen with dimension and complexity and care in the same way that we see, Stand By Me, right? Or ET. Like, we deserve to see ourselves in these ways too. I think we can see that really clearly with how powerfully people responded to the remake of The Little Mermaid, right? I loved that movie as a kid. Always my favorite thing. But I had to work really hard to see myself in it. And for this younger generation of Black girls, especially, any girls, honestly, but Black girls especially, to be able to see themselves reflected so clearly, one to one, is really powerful and something I think all of us deserve.
Definitely. And I've talked a lot about with other filmmakers about how Dances with Films has a very unique
Hmm.
take on who they show and the films that are chosen. There has to be high quality. They have to be great stories, and they're not typical of Hollywood stories.
Hmm.
How do you feel being included in that?
Oh, I'm so thrilled to be at Dances with Films. It was one of the festivals that was really hoping we would be selected for, because they focus so fiercely on independent film, right? Like high quality independent film. I think a lot of times filmmakers get told we've got to make something that'll sell, right? We've got to make a genre film, a thriller, a horror, and I think those films are great and can like give us a lot. That's not really my wheelhouse, right? I love personal, character driven stories, and to have platform to be able to share that work that I approach with a lot of vision and artfulness. And not so much like the first thing on my mind isn't how much can I sell this for? It's about what stories do I think need to be in the landscape right now? What's inside of me that I really want to share with people with whom it will resonate? It feels really affirming and validating to be able to have such a great platform to share that kind of work on, because sometimes it's hard to find the support for that kind of work that we would like.
Definitely. Congratulations on being part of Dances with Films. It's a fantastic film that you've made. I can't wait to see more of it because these characters are very captivating. And, once again, congratulations and thank you very much for your time.
Thanks so much. Thanks for talking with me. I enjoyed it.